guys, this is Ben with Black Mountain. Today we're going to go over how I bid a house and what we're looking for as far as repaints. So these guys have a pretty dark siding. We got to kind of take that into account. A lot of paints we use will cover that no problem. White soffit, everything looks good there. And we're just going to kind of look for any dings or anything and then take pictures of what we have. And we'll measure it through the pictures and get a good idea, and we'll go back to the office and I'll kind of show you what I do there. But let's just kind of look around the house. So these guys want to go to sage green. So that makes more sense. Yeah, everything looks like it's in pretty good condition. We got some stuff here, and we might have some water stuff here. Otherwise, yeah. So there's two different methods when you go to repaint with trim. If you look here at the trim on this side, there's one that's the Hollywood method, one that's the Greek method, and the Hollywood comes up. You can take the color up here, and then you just face off the boards. We're looking for any kind of damage, anything like this, but this house is in really good shape. The caulking, I mean, we can mess with the caulking a little bit. It's on the white, but otherwise this house is really good. We'll look at shutters. Shutters always seem to be the ones that fade the quickest, just because of the paint on them. You have little spots like this, but it's not huge. That's not a big deal at all. And then your metal tends to be one of the first ones to kind of rub off too. And then shutters and like your caulking here. So what we'll have to do here with this window is pull that out and then recaulk all that stuff. We won't just go over it. You don't want to go over stuff that's starting to crack, because then it's usually brittle. And if you look up at the other window too, you'll have that. So I'm guessing that most of the windows, these are vinyl, so most of these windows will probably be recaulked when we paint. And you do have some sun faded spots here. And then the bottoms of the boards, always look at the bottoms, because that's where you're going to flake the most. But otherwise, yeah, this side's pretty sun faded. You can see the two different colors there. And then the cords. So when you're doing a bid, you always want to ask if they want the cords painted, or they want them left alone. This one's really clean. You don't really see this very often where they took the time to actually make it look good. A lot of the guys will just put two of these on, but this looks like they did a really good job. And then you got a Trex deck, so that's really easy. Any locked gate, like, I'm not even gonna mess with that. I'll probably pull it up on Google and be able to kind of see the back of it. But yeah, this is basically all we do, and then we go through and measure it. This house is really clean. It's not a great example of what we would typically be bidding for a repaint, but it looks like they just want to kind of change the color. And so what we'll do is we'll come in, we'll prime it, and then we'll hit it with 2 top coats of sage green, and then probably look at the trim and then recaulk all the vinyl windows. It says that the house is gray on my bid sheet. We went to the wrong house, so.
Oh, that's what that is.
Yeah, so it actually told me the color of the house, and the house we were at was like yellow. So yeah, we're gonna look at this fence, because this fence could probably use stain. All right, hey guys, so this is my bid sheet. It tells me the job site, the right job site to go to. Make sure you do that. And then information, and then the names of the stuff. And then it gives me notes. So there wasn't a lot of notes on this house. Color change, I know they want to go to sage green. and they're painting the exterior. They want 2 line items, one for the trim, one for the house. I am gonna add a line item for the fence, just because the fence is kind of wore out. So we are gonna add that too, and try to get them to do that while we're here, and kind of do it all at once. So I fill this out. I put in recaulk windows, check with the fence. We got shutters that we're gonna have to remove and put back, and then probably end up painting, because once you put a fresh coat of paint on the house, then the shutters are gonna look really dingy too. So we usually paint the shutters with the house. That's usually included, but we'll put that in there as well. But the biggest part of this is really to go check and make sure that you're not running into anything too crazy as far as damage or anything like this. This house was really clean, so there wasn't a whole lot of notes, and it's pretty straightforward. The back is flat enough to get all the ladders. That would be another thing you would put in the notes, is what kind of special equipment might I have to use for a house like this. We're in the Black Hills, so there's not a lot of flat ground, but there is enough flat ground here and it's not very high, so we should be good. Good with our normal ladders. We don't have anything special that we're really gonna have to bring to it. Garage doors look great. They look like they just are brand new, and they're not really faded or anything like that. And the soffit and gutters look great too, so we're not probably gonna touch those either. So I won't even put those as line items. But yeah, anything additional that I saw, which would only be like the fence, and then he did ask the trim and the house to be kind of separated, the body of the house to be separated. And then so what happens is they call, and then my receptionist or my assistant fill one of these out, they give it to me, and I go out and do the bid. So basically where we're at now is this. I'll take it back to the office, and I'll show you guys how I come up with the numbers I come up with, and we'll kind of go from there. There's not a lot to do. There's not a lot of prep. There's not a lot of repair, anything like that. He wants it broke down into 2 things. So basically what we're gonna do, or how I do it, is I take my notes section and I cut it in half. And I usually do this in the truck, but we didn't really have a lot of space in the truck to film this. So the house itself, we have our man hours that we've already figured out. So your man hours, your labor hours, sorry, I write like horribly, but so what you need to do for your business is figure out your labor hours. How you figure out your labor hours is take what it is to run your business for 1 year, and get that total. Say that total is, we're gonna go right here. We're gonna go over here quick. We're gonna have a little bit of a bid lesson before we get into this. So take your total labor hours for 1 year, or what it costs for 1 year. Say roughly it's $500,000 to run your business for 1 year, okay? You have 10 employees. Each employee is gonna work 40 hours a week, so that's 400 hours times your 52 weeks. So you got 400 hours a week times 52 weeks, and you're gonna end up with 80020. So you got 20800. So you have 20,000 hours, 20,800 hours that your employees are gonna work. Those aren't gonna all be billable hours. So to get your labor wages, what you need to do is make this your billable. I would take this by either 55% or 50%. We're gonna do 50 just because it's easy math. So we're gonna have 10,400 hours that are actually billable hours. So they're gonna spend 10,400 hours this year on jobs. Then you take this number and divide it by this number. So you got 500,000, because that's what it costs. Remember, that's what it's costing you to run this joint. Materials are not included in this. So this is your electric bill, your rent or your mortgage payment in your shop, your gas for your vehicles, your vehicle repair, your light bill, like anything that comes up, that is that. It's not your paint, it's not your material wise, it's just what it takes to run a business without material. So that's $500,000 divided by, I can bill for 10,400 400 hours, and I get a total of $48. So from $48, that is what I need to charge, and per employee to be there. Now, if you want, this hasn't included profit yet. So what you need to do is take profit. So you take this number, 48, divide that by, if I want 30%, I want true profit, 30%. I'm not gonna times it, because that's not true profit. I'm gonna divide it by 0.7, that gives me 30% true profit, and I'm at $68.57. That's my billable hour. That's what I have to bill per hour, per employee, to make 30% on top of my hourly. Now fast forward, now that we know what it takes for your billable hour, then once you figure out that equation, then you're able to know what you have to do. So you can bid this two separate ways. We're trying to streamline our stuff, because usually that's what I would do. And then I would take materials, and then you always have to upcharge on materials to basically for hauling and stuff like that, to kind of pay for that as well. And I've heard people say they upcharge basically 100%. Basically what I do for material is I get a really good price on paint. We go to what the customer would pay for paint, and we discount that, so the customer's still getting a discount on their product. They're not gonna be able to go in and buy the product cheaper than we're giving it to them. So we're able to still pass on a little bit of savings that way. And to me, that's just a nice thing that we can do for the customer, and it's not gonna make or break us. Our other big thing with this type of bid, since there's no real prep, what we do is we have a low, medium, and high prep, and it tells me how many man hours it's going to take to prep a house. This is a low prep, so this is actually going to be included in the bid. And in the house bid, I am going to bid the fence we talked about. I think it could use some stain, and I think as long as we're there, maybe we can upsell a little bit there. But but right now there's no so there's light scraping, like I showed you guys at the bottom of there. So we'll just scrape that. We'll prime a little bit, and we'll caulk those windows. If we're not going to use more than 6 tubes of caulk, I consider it a low prep, and that's going to be included in the price. And we're going to use less than a gallon of primer. So basically what I did is I set my parameters for low, medium, and high prep stuff, and then I set my parameters for a job like this. You talk to them, and you have a low, medium, and high crew. So your fast crews are going to be a little bit more expensive. Your slower crews are going to be cheaper because the wages are cheaper, and you're able to make up for the speed because of the wage difference. You know what I mean? Then you're gonna have to set it up that way. So then you have to pick your crew. Is this gonna be a fast crew? I'm gonna put a high crew on this one, a fast crew on this one, because they'll be able to knock that house out in a day. There's very little prep. My fast crew, they are very experienced painters, and as far as they can prep really, really well, but it makes no sense to have my fast guys go in and waste time prepping. Anybody can prep. Not everybody can go in, spray, and back brush a house. So that's what they're set up for, and they're set up perfect for a house like this. We do a lot of repaints this way, and then we have a specific crew. That's our medium crew that's set up to prep and paint pretty quickly. And so they got 2 guys on there. One's really good at prepping, one's really good at spraying, and then they got their 2 helpers on top of that. My fast crew is straight, just they're painters, and they're gonna just paint everything as fast as possible and make sure that the quality's there as well. I'm telling you right now, quality will make you more money than quantity. I've done both. When we first started, we were all about quantity. It doesn't do what you're supposed to do. It's great because you're getting checks every time. If you're doing quantity, you're gonna have to be cheaper, and you are gonna be faster, so it's not gonna be there. You're not gonna get the reviews. We switched a long time ago to quality. We take on less houses every year. but quality-wise, it's there. So, but when you're setting your crews up, make sure that the quality stays in all your crews. You might have 4 really fast guys, but the quality is not there. And you might have that one guy that keeps those guys' quality there. You're gonna have to bring him along too. So just think of that when you set up your crews. So there's 2 different ways. You can come up with a square footage bid. So you have a set square footage price. So say it's $1 a square foot to paint the exterior of a house. So you can do that 2 ways. So is it $1 each coat? Is it $1 for 2 coats? And then how much is it a square foot to prep it? You can do that. Then anybody can kind of bid it. But the process that we have, anybody can still bid this, but there's more room for error in the way that we do it, I feel. Because if you have a set square footage, no matter what the problem is that comes up, you might end up going over that $1, or maybe paint decided to go up, or they ran out of the paint, so you had to use different paint, or there's a lot of different scenarios that could happen that could throw that square footage price out the window. Commercial new construction square footage price is awesome, but repaints, I don't see repaints as square footage. So what I do is I figure out how my fast crew could paint. Each one of my people in my fast crew can paint 700 square feet of area in an hour, in a man hour. So I have 4 guys on my fast crew, 700 times 4 is 2,800 square feet. That house that we looked at after we measured it was about 7,000 square feet of paintable area. So we're looking at 3 hours to paint 1 coat of paint on the body of the house. So 3 hours per coat. There's going to be 2 coats, 3 hours. So times 2 is 6 hours. I hope I'm not losing you yet. So it's going to take them 1 day to paint the body of that house. It's going to take them a half a day to paint the trim of the house. Trim's a little bit more intricate, but there's 2 different ways to do trim. I think it's the French technique and then the Hollywood technique. So your trim board sits on your house like this, okay? Hollywood, you're taking the body of the house and painting it to right here, and then you're facing off with the trim color. French technique is you're taking the trim color and bringing it all the way down here and cutting that in there. So depending on what the homeowner wants, that's another thing that you got to factor in your paint time or your prep time. So if they say, hey, we're okay with that paint going up, then it's going to be a lot faster. And that's what most people do after they repaint. So if you ever look at a house, if the body color comes up over the trim, it's actually been repainted. So just kind of keep your eye open for that if they say it hasn't, if it's warranty siding, because once you paint siding, bare, and a bunch of other, LP won't warranty the siding. But they will warranty that the paint should be warranted too. Now going back to the bid that we have. Obviously, so I'm taking my fast crew. So I'm gonna put my fast guys down. I'm just gonna write fast. I'm gonna say min prep. So included. And this is just, like I said, I'll do the fence later, but this is just for this stuff. And then I need materials. So this goes back to math, guys. How much paint, because it's fast, they're going to use more paint than the slow guys. It's just, I don't know why it works that way, it just works that way. They go through about 1.25% of paint, or times the paint by like 1.25. So if your guys are getting 250 square foot out of a gallon of paint, my fast guys get about 225 square feet. So I got to factor that in. So we said 7,000. I get 200 gallons per square foot. You're going to take the 7,000 square feet of paintable surface, divide that by 225. So you got your 7,000. Divide by 225 because that's how much they're getting out of each gallon, and you're going to get 31 gallons of paint. So 31 gallons of paint is quite a bit for an exterior. It's a bigger house. It's fairly high. So then that's for 1 coat. So then you got to times that by 2 for each coat. You're going to get 62 gallons of paint, 62.2. Now what I do is divide that by 0.9. That gives me 10%. I got 69. So you got 69 gallons of paint for total. So then you have to figure out how much are you charging per gallon for that paint, for your material. So say you are charging roughly, I think we charge $45 a gallon. So that's 4 times 45 is $3,111.11 just for material. So I have my man hours, my fast, and which is plug in my man hours quick. I'm at 87 times 4. So I'm at $348 an hour for 4 guys. So each man hour is actually 4 man hours that are going to be on the job. And like I said, they're going to do the paint in 8 hours. They're going to be able to paint it in 6 hours, and they're going to be able to come back and do the trim in half a day. That's another probably 4 hours. So total they'll be there is 10 hours. Prep is minimal, so hour to prep it, hour to tear down and pull everything. So we're looking at 12 hours. So then we have 348 times 12 is 4,176. So that's how much it cost me with a 30% profit on my labor to paint that house. So that's including profit. So and then obviously the materials are already got the profit included. Like I told you guys, we take what the normal price would be discounted, and then we have the price for the customer. That way they're still getting some of the savings that we're getting. So this house, then you add those two numbers together, this house would potentially cost $7,287.11 to paint. And that's including your trim, that's including your body, that's including your prep, that's including all your disposal of the waste and stuff like that. So like taking down plastic, stuff like. But the big thing is we'll go over a worse house that's going to take more prep because there's no caulking really. We got 2 tubes, and if we want to be petty, we can go in and be like $8 a tube, which is $16, and then you got probably a roll of plastic, which is $12, and then you have probably 5 rolls of tape, which is $30. So for all you guys that are like, you're not doing all your material, that's all our material right there. And then we can do so you take that, and so what we're missing out on is $58. So if you want to be, you can add that stuff into it too. I usually don't unless we're going to be using quite a bit of it, a lot of windows or a lot of caulking, stuff like that. But that comes with the time. Your medium prep is more time, and that I just built that those products in the time of the prep. And since it's included, there's little prep. I don't really build those into something like this. So I would submit this bid to do the house and the trim at $7,287.11. We'll go over a different house with a little bit more damage and like something that would need medium or high prep, and kind of go over those numbers as well. Since this is kind of a brush and roll job, we're going to use the machine, but we'll probably use the spray machine pretty minimally. Or if we do, it's not going to be a lot of wear and tear on the machine. But what you can do, if you want to factor that in, go to your nearest rental store and see how much it costs to rent one of the pumps, the spray pumps, and then throw that on there too. Ours is $120 a day for spray pumps. So realistically, if we really wanted to, we'd be sitting at like $7,300 and some dollars. To me, that's not, for a job like this, it's not needed. He's been really helpful, really easygoing, and great to work with. So I'm just going to leave that off. But that's something that you could add is your rental of a machine, your rental of tools, your rental of gas, and that's something else that you got to kind of figure in too. But if you do it with your labor, that's already figured in, because that should be figured into your labor wage as well. So just kind of going over this quick, this is a really easy residential bid. Your biggest obstacle and what took me so long is figure out your actual labor rate, because it could be bleeding you, and you don't want to do that, because you could be thinking that you're making money hand over fist, but then when rent comes due, it's hard to find rent. Or when the insurance bill comes due, it's hard to find, like you're scrounging for that. If you're doing that and you're not putting stuff in the bank and you're coming up with these, when you initially start, you're going to have those times, but especially with new employees, we went from 3 employees to 10 employees in a matter of 6 months. So that was, we grew really fast, and if I probably wouldn't do that again. I'd probably be a little bit slower in my growth to create these systems. But now that we've created these systems, it's bidding, everything is that much easier. My guys know, okay, we're going to a residential repaint. They have a packing list. They know exactly when we pull into that job, the 3 guys know what they're doing. The other guy knows what he's doing. The foreman knows what he's doing. When you create these systems, it becomes a lot easier and a lot more streamlined. But this is their most basic bid you can do, but it makes it so much easier to know what you have to actually charge so you make money. Because if you're not making money, you're the busiest poor guy in the world, and that's something that you don't want to be. You look really busy and it feels cool because you got all these jobs, but realistically, when it's time to pay your bills, you don't have the money, and you don't want to be that guy, because they don't understand it, because you're doing all these jobs and doing all this work and stuff, but you weren't actually making any money. So until you come up with what it costs you per year and come up with that number that you need to charge per employee to make sure that that's covered, then you're just basically gonna have nothing. It's not going to amount to anything. You're just going to be extremely busy. But yeah, this is a very basic bid. We'll go over on another video. We'll go over commercial jobs, how I bid those. They come in through the email. I actually have software that I'll show you guys, and we'll go over that, and then we'll do construction jobs. But this is your basic repaint, minimal prep, simplest job you can bid. We figured we'd start with that one. We do have these bid sheets on our website. You can download them. I think they're like $5 or something. Really cheap. But then you can customize them with your own logo. You can go through it. We have the bid questionnaires. We have the custom questionnaires. We have the review sheets. We actually have some of our processes as well that are going to be available on our website, and that's blackmountainpainting.com. So yeah, check those out if you are interested, and it makes it super easy. And we continue to add to this stuff. Some guys have pictures of their workers that they send out in their bids. Mine are on my website. I always just tell people, hey, go look at our website. If they do request it, I do send that with them, just so people know kind of what's going on and who's going to be at their property. I think that's a huge thing, especially nowadays where there's a bunch of weirdos, and we were actually one of the weirdos today by bidding the wrong house. So basically, if you like any of these questionnaires or any of the other stuff, hit me up and I can go over the sheets. Email me, office@blackmountainpainting.com, or the office number is actually on our website, and me or my receptionist Bridget will answer it, and we're happy to answer any phone calls that you guys might have too, if you have any issues of filling these out or have any bid questions. So give me a call or just hit me up through email. But yeah, check out some of our other videos and check out our Instagram and Facebook pages. They're starting to kind of take off. We got really good videos there. I have a group of ladies that have been editing the videos, and they've been doing an awesome job. I can't thank them enough for that. So check those out as well, and then like and subscribe for more content. Thanks, guys.